When I'm pulling this apart, I forgot I do really good work. Everything's soldered, you shrink wrap. Although maybe this was my helper. Oh, that's right, Sam, you weren't there.
I don't think I was alive.
Yeah, I did this thing. Yeah, you were, but you were a
Welcome to
teenager.
Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. On this episode of Sam's Garage, Kevin's Jeep gets a new set of custom axles from Knoxville Driveline. Sam installs the 5-speed transmission in Doug's GT350 to get ready for the great race. Kevin's Jeep then gets a new set of exhaust headers installed, and Sam installs the upgraded front brakes, springs, and sway bars on Teddy's 92 Camaro. Kevin's Jeep gets a new set of axles so the guys can complete the driveline. Adam from Knoxville Driveline swings by Low Car Performance to help show us how to measure the new axles. Then we take a trip back to Adam's shop to see just how these axles are built.
All right, so today is a really exciting day because we get to get Kevin's Jeep completely mobile again with the help of Adam Pritchett from Knoxville Driveline. I'm going to have him tell you everything that we're going to be doing today.
Build him a set of off-road shafts for his Jeep, hopefully get this thing back on the road.
That is very good. Now, you're also going to show us how to measure drive shafts,
Yes,
right?
sir.
And then we're going to go to your facility. You're going to actually make a couple so we can see what the process is.
Yep.
So this is going to be very cool. You were talking about a carbon shaft in which car?
Yeah, so Kevin's Buick, he built a drive shaft in it, carbon fiber. We haven't broke it yet.
Very nice.
You break it, you got a problem.
Oh.
Yeah. He'd probably break these, though.
Nah, I don't know. I think we might be able to build him something he can't break.
Well, let's see if Adam's right.
We're trying to figure out what U-joint series he's got. A couple ways to do that. We need to know what the width is of the caps, so measure inside to inside where the U-joint would sit. And then we need to know the size of the cap itself. Or you can cheat and use one of these fancy-dancy little tools like we have. So that could be a 1330 or a 1350, and that is determined by the width of the cap. So we're 1 3/16 inches. So on the flange on the back of his transfer case, we need to know the pilot, which is the diameter of this circle, and then we need to know the bolt circle, which is from center bolt to center bolt across. So he's a 2-inch pilot, it's a 4 1/4 across. We're measuring flange face, which you take measure on there, down to center of the U-joint, and that's what we asked for.
How cool is this showroom? They even got an old school Sun tune-up center over there.
Did you see all the t-shirts?
Dude, yeah.
He sells these shirts, it's nice shirts.
I love the t-shirts, what's written on them as well. We are finally here at Knoxville Driveline, and Adam is going to be building Kevin's drive shafts. One of them's already completed, but he saved another one for us to see exactly the process it takes to make one of these drive shafts. So I take it this is one of Kevin's?
That's actually the front shaft. We can get away with a little smaller tube on that one because it's not sitting there transferring the power the whole time. It's just when he's in four-wheel drive.
Have you met Kevin?
Yeah, that's the reason we talked about doing the bigger shaft for the rear. So fronts don't take as much abuse as the rears. They're kind of tucked up in there a little bit better. They're protected a little better, so we can get away with a little smaller shaft on that one.
That's very cool. What's next?
He's got the head built, and in the machine, we pulled a larger tube for Kevin. Typically on an on-road Jeep, we would put a 95 wall in the rear. For Kevin, we're doing a 157.
As you can see, Adam got both shafts made for Kevin's Jeep. What a process. It was really cool to see that, wasn't it?
It was really cool, and the quality is just unreal. They use really good parts.
Now it's the time to go back to Low Car, and we're going to install the shafts on Kevin's Jeep, and hopefully we'll be mobile and be done with the Jeep until we get the ARB lockers installed.
Yes.
All right, Kevin, I think we're pretty much done with the Jeep, don't you think?
I think we got a couple loose ends to tie up, but these drive shafts, they fit perfect. They look strong.
Well, you did really good. I love seeing the process of everything being made, and you guys make custom shafts like Travis said. And that's why you guys, when you're building yourself a custom project and you want peace of mind, you want someone to build you shafts, you got to check out Knoxville Driveline. Tell everyone where they can find you.
KnoxvilleDriveline.com, Facebook, Instagram. If you are building something custom, do yourself a favor. Don't try and do it at home. It's not really a homebrew kind of thing. Spend the money, go to a good qualified shop, whoever it may be, we'll definitely help you out. But do yourself a favor and go buy a good one.
Yep, because this stuff's getting more expensive every day.
Some people don't have time to do it, right, but they have time to do it twice.
Yeah,
Yes.
No kidding.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Sam and Doug prepare to install the 5-speed transmission in the Cobra GT 350. The new transmission from American Powertrain will help keep the RPMs down while cruising on the highway during the Great Race. Once the team completes the race, they plan to reinstall the original transmission.
The 4-speed top loader transmission, set of 389 gears, at about 60 miles an hour. I'm spinning 3,000 RPM. And we're gonna do 2,300 miles. So the reality of it now, let's just throw a 5-speed. Once we're all done, we'll put the 4-speed top loader back in. It's just gonna make the car a lot better driver.
Yeah, we need some fuel economy, and it won't be so loud in the car when we're cruising at highway speeds.
Well, I'd never mind it loud. Hello, what?
So we went to American Powertrain and got a T5 installation kit. They give us everything we need, and they give us a sheet to be able to measure the drive shaft. They're going to make a drive shaft and send it out to us.
You know, the great thing about this, because this is a restored car, everything's nice and clean. So this part should go really easy for us. It's going to be a lot of fun.
These things come with either a 10 spline or a 28 spline. Ours is a 10 spline, but anytime you guys are doing a clutch R&R, whether it be whatever car you're doing it on, get the disc, check it on the transmission. We got really lucky, we don't have to change the clutch. His clutch is new in there, so we could just put this in with the American Powertrain adapter kit. This American Powertrain adapter that goes from a first gen to a T5 later model Fox body transmission. When you put it up to the bell, the two bottom holes match up perfectly, but these two upper holes, they don't put on there for you because where the T5 bolts up interferes with the factory location of the bolt hole that the transmission goes into. You can see the dimples right there on the original transmission's bell housing. You could put holes, thread them, and then put your hardware through it, and you could even get fancy, take it off if you're doing a lot of racing with this thing, and gusset it, strengthening it up to make sure that this adapter plate doesn't go anywhere. What we're gonna do is get a used bell housing for a first gen Mustang so that we don't tear up this transmission's bell housing because it's original to the car. Before I store this car and wait for my rest of my parts, I'm gonna put it back together. This is a Shelby GT350, and we all know that when you start to bunch up parts and wait for others, things get lost, things get nasty. Now the reason I'm using a tripod in this case is because we're raising up the center of the pumpkin, and if you have a dead man on it, it'll sway back and forth, causing it to slide off of the legs. So to be ultimately safe, you want to use a tripod in this case. Measure the face of the back of the transmission from the face of the seal to the rear end in the middle of the cap for the U-joint. But the suspension has to be traveled up in the air to get an accurate reading. Shops out there that'll ask you the question, was it hanging or was it compressed? And they'll do a calculation, but to be ultimately accurate, you want it to have it compressed and give them your measurement, and you'll be good to go. All right, so we got 53 inches. I always subtract a 1/4 inch. We're gonna fill in our blanks on the worksheet, send it over to American Powertrain. They're gonna make us a drive shaft and send it out to us. American Powertrain really knocked it out with this installation kit with that T5. That's in the factory position.
Yeah, Sam, that really feels good. You know what I brought along? Some 8 tracks. That's gonna be the ticket. We're going to be cruising down the road, 5th gear, plugging the 8-track in, listening to some tunes.
Oh man, it's gonna be rough on me sometimes listening to all those old tunes the whole way. They don't make a Bluetooth with a wire sticking out like the cassettes 8-track style, do they?
Not that I'm aware of, Sam. We're going with the real McCoy.
You guys know here at Sam's Garage, every project that we work on gets a cold case cooling system. And why I call it a cooling system is because they give you the entire package. First, we got a 3-row full aluminum radiator, nice TIG welded end tanks. It's going to be very efficient for cooling. And then look at the fan shroud. They completely covered the entire core of the radiator. They put 2 high flow fans in there. Together it's over 3,000 CFM. So this is going to be plenty for your cooling. This particular part number is for a 92 Gen 3 Camaro with an LS swap in it. But if you got the 1st gen small block in your Camaro, they've got a part number for you as well. Now, Cold Case does it right. They make it to where you're going to worry about nothing when you put this in your car. It's going to be completely efficient. It covers everything for you, and it'll last a long time, probably the life of the car. They got a limited lifetime warranty as well. So if you guys want peace of mind and you want efficient cooling, you got to check out Cold Case. They're my favorite.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam is back with Kevin and Travis to install the new exhaust headers on the Jeep. The new headers will pair nicely with the upgraded exhaust system. They use Stage A fasteners and locking tabs to make sure there'll be no exhaust leaks in the future.
All right, so this week we're going to be adding some horsepower to Kevin's Jeep, and look at that. Looks like we're going to add some looks too. Those are pretty.
Yeah, we finally get to use these Stage 8 hardware they sent when we were doing the axles.
Very nice stuff, and I won't install them without Stage 8, especially when using those gaskets. You know why? Because those only require 20 foot-pounds.
Yes, they do.
And if you put 20 foot-pounds on a regular hardware, they're gonna come loose. It's gonna be a bad day. These are not easy to install. I'm gonna use Stage 8 hardware with Remflex gaskets, and this guy should have no problems.
At all.
Well, he'll have other problems, but not with this. So this is a newer age of ceramic coating or jet hot coating.
Yeah, I don't know that it has the same benefits as ceramic coating, but it is literally a ceramic.
I love the color, and the color matches the accents on the Jeep itself.
Yes, it does.
Very cool. So, if these were stainless steel headers,
Yes.
and you got fingerprints on them, and the first heat cycle would burn those fingerprints into them, and you cannot wipe them off, it's over, you have to have them Cerakoted, ceramic or jet hot coated to look like this again.
Really?
Yes. All right, so incredibly, Travis, Kevin, and I got those manifolds out in record time. Seriously, it was like 30, 45 minutes. And you really need some special tools, or you got to be able to get inside there and just tackle the job, and that's what we did. So before we put the new headers on, of course, we're going to be using Stage 8 hardware, and the reason we are is because these guys give you peace of mind by making sure that they never loosen on you. It's especially useful to use these whenever you're using Remflex gaskets, because these guys only require 20 foot-pounds, so therefore these will loosen on you, and instead of having to go back and retighten them, just use Stage 8 bolts. But if you guys are not going to use Remflex gaskets, do not use the gaskets that come in the box. These are absolute junk. Reuse the factory metal gasket. There's nothing wrong with it, so that way you know you got peace of mind. So the Remflex gaskets, these work awesome because they withstand a lot of heat, and they're really good for any time you have a non-flat surface. Now what we're gonna do is install the headers. This is where the hard part is, because the runners usually get in the way of you being able to put the hardware in, but we're gonna knock it out, and we're gonna have Travis do most of the work. You guys got notches. This allows for you to be able to put the 4 hardware in the bottom, put the Remflex gaskets in, and then squeeze your manifold in between the hardware and the gasket, making it easy for it to hang, and then you get in the rest of the hardware.
So we got the exhaust back in on the Jeep, and if you don't have a custom-made exhaust, you're probably going to be fighting slip, fit, expanded tubing. The exhaust was previously installed on this Jeep, and a quick tip for you is instead of fighting it, go buy, it's an inexpensive tubing expander. Just make sure you grease it, lube it, make sure the threads have enough lubrication so they don't bind, because it is a lot of work for this thing, but it makes short work of expanding the tubing back from old clamps and U-bolts that people may have tightened too tight and shrunk the tube down. And once you've got all that, you can secure it and then clean the pipes before you start the vehicle. You should be good to go.
I gotta say, I'm very impressed because that was a record time when it comes to installing headers on a V8 Jeep. In the book, it calls for 6 hours to remove the exhaust manifolds and put them back on. And headers are a little bit harder. That's why you guys wanna make sure to use proper gaskets and use stage 8 locking fasteners, because if you don't, you're gonna be doing 6-hour jobs every 2 or 3 months.
I think it might have had a little something to do with the people helping you.
Yeah, they totally made it much easier. When we have 3 and 2 hours, when you add it up, it's like 6 more.
The hardware that we used for stage 8 is incredible. We had to grind a couple tabs. That's not their fault. These are 2-inch primaries. A little overkill, but they didn't know that, right? And so just a little trim, no big deal.
No big deal at all. It works perfect.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you because you did the driver's one by yourself.
Oh,
you got in there with both arms, no extensions needed, just manhandled it.
No, you gave me the right tools for the job.
That's what we're here to do, teamwork.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam gets ready to install the new Willwood big front brake kit on Teddy's 92 Camaro RS. Once the brakes are installed, Sam will be upgrading the front springs as well as adding new front and rear sway bars. The new brakes and suspension will handle all the added power from the 383 crate engine.
We're going to be approaching the tail end of our Ed Morse Automotive Group 92 Gen 3 Camaro project. Teddy's going to love this thing. Today we're going to finish up with the front springs. If you remember, we installed the rear springs last week, the Willwood front brakes, and the Hotchkiss sway bars that I picked up at year 1. Now, if you guys have restored a muscle car in the past, then you've probably dealt with year 1. They've been a staple in Atlanta since 1981. Let's go ahead and get started. Depending on what you cut, there may be a little ear that sticks out. Grind that down. You're gonna have no air gap in between these two. The best way to cut this is with a sawzall. We're gonna use a .332 drill bit to drill these threads out. Then we're gonna go back with a 3/8 20 tap and tap them so that we can bolt on our bracket that holds the Willwood caliper in place. The top hole is not a through hole. The bottom hole is a through hole, so the tap goes all the way through. The top hole is not, don't drill all the way through and don't tap all the way through. When it stops, you stop. And then I'm gonna clean everything up where I should be able to go in with my hub. Be very careful, use a jack, bring it on the floor. Do not use a dead man. You will not get the same results and it's way dangerous. Use a floor jack. I reused the factory nut because the factory nut at the bottom had a provision that centered the bushing. The new shock didn't come with new bushings. The bushings are just fine, but the nut that they came with is a nylon locking nut. This is an acorn locking nut, but this one fit the threads and it's a better nut, so reuse it. There's 2 ways of packing these bearings. One, you can destroy your hand and put the entire package onto your hand and then dance around with the bearing. Or you can just simply make sure that you have grease inside the bearing by pushing it down and making sure it goes in there. Make sure to look at the bleeder valves. Willwood has 4 bleeder valves, so you guys can install this on the left or passenger side. In my case, I've got a 4-piston deal. I'm gonna shim it. The reason why you have to shim it is you have to make sure that the rotor falls right in the middle of that slot on the caliper so that both pads have free play and there is no binding whatsoever. In my case, it's gonna be 3 shims. And the shims are gonna go between the caliper and the bracket, the black bracket that I installed. There's no pressure on the pistons, but you know that when you go to bleed the brakes and the pistons are out and they're touching, that when they release, they're still gonna have play. I grinded the inside of the U-bolt so that it goes around the tube. The bracket actually goes on and I can bolt it up. So don't be afraid to modify your aftermarket components, because when you buy multiple aftermarket components, they may not work together. It's up to you to make them work together. There's nothing wrong with that. It's what we do. Those Willwood brakes look so good on this car, especially with the red calipers. Willwood does the best job when it comes to best bang for the buck brakes that you can buy for your vehicles, and they got a whole bunch of applications. The sway bars are gonna make a huge difference. Teddy's gonna absolutely love this car. From the outside, it looks like a stock 92 Camaro, or underneath, Z28 plus 450 horsepower. If you guys want muscle car parts, don't forget to check out year1.com. They've been doing it in Atlanta, like I said, since 1981. And if you're looking for performance parts or OEM parts for your three big domestics like Chrysler, Ford, and GM, don't forget Ed Morse Automotive Group. They've got the second largest distribution center of parts in the country, performance parts as well. This thing's gonna be awesome. Can't wait for Teddy to check it out.
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. Send us questions and feedback to info@samsgaragetv.com. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Sam's Garage. Kevin's Jeep is now mobile and almost ready to hit the trails. Doug's Cobra GT 350 has a new transmission installed and is closer to running in the Great Race. Kevin's Jeep also received a new set of headers to match the exhaust. And Teddy's Camaro now has big front brakes and upgraded sway bars.